1st of November. We are just quickly running to get into our assigned seats. Just barely got here today. I want to say hello to everyone and welcome you to the weekly broadcast of Ask Welfare Rights. Hopefully you'll be able to call us this evening, some information, because we've got a few things to talk about, but we mostly tonight want to hear what is concerning to you. My name is Maureen Taylor, and I work with the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization, and I'm here with my colleague Marion Kramer, who's going to again give an official welcome. So Marion, say hello.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Maureen, because yesterday it just rained and rained and rained. And at least we made it here without getting wet tonight. Um, I want to remind people that you're listening to WHPR. And if you want to call in and participate, please call 313-868-0342, 868-0351, and 868-4336. When you call in, please have your pencil and paper with you. And if you, those of you that need a hearing aid, please to have that on also. The website is www.tv33whpr.com. And I feel like I just left here from the from the other night.
Talking about the Tuesday debate.
Yeah.
Well, tell us
Well,
about that.
not so much of a debate because it's only one person that one of the candidates that showed up, and that was Mayor Yap. Glenda McDonald, Councilwoman Glenda McDonald, had said that she couldn't come on that Friday, and the original date, and so they changed it to that Monday to accommodate her. And then she said after the flyers were done and everything like that and put out, she said, I can't come on that day neither.
Well,
I mean, so, I think she missed out on a great deal of folks from Highland Park being able to ask them certain questions and stuff. But I'm so happy Mary Yop showed up and was willing not only to listen, Maureen, but to try to come to some conclusion even afterwards, how to take care of certain problems and what have you.
well, that's a wonderful
Quite
thing,
a few people showed up. This place was packed.
That's wonderful.
And the watch place down at the new establishment in Highland Park by the City Hall, they said there was quite a few people down there.
So that was sort of like the overflow area. Is that what that was?
That's what it was. And people came out. They came out. I was very proud of them.
Well, folks have to have an opportunity when we can, to ask politicians questions.
That's right.
And then the other half of that is that we have to be able to tell politicians what it is that we want. Oftentimes, elected officials go in the room and they figure out what they think you need, and then they don't ask us. And so that was good. But I'm told, you said it, and I heard some other folks say it was a very well organized event, and that there were statements made and promises and commitments made.
What I like is the fact that WHPR opening up its doors to be able for the community to have a place to come.
Yes.
And be able to exchange their problems that they might be experiencing in Highland Park, and what is the mayor's position on it. Should he be not only elected, he's been there for the 2 terms, and what is his solution to stuff. And people seem to be very happy with the fact that there was no antagonism, that was there among the folks.
Good.
And then they were able to ask those questions and move on. It was, we got to come together.
Yes.
Because of all the problems that we're facing. And we got to weave out, Maureen, those folks that are also in the past that have hurt the people in Highland Park and got us in a situation like this. But at the same time, we got to move forward because we know how these capitalists are moving in on us.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And it looks like Miss McDonald missed out on a great
Oh,
opportunity to
yeah.
share some of her platform ideas and to reach out and let the community know a little bit more about her. But you know, things happen, and you know, you get what you get.
Yeah.
So,
And
your election.
she wasn't here. And I noticed on the leaflet that the city council president wasn't even here neither. And
Okay.
without saying, why they did not show up. If you're afraid to face the people that you're supposed to be representing, I got a lot of problems with you as far as what are you going to do for us,
Well, you know, things happen and people can't always be where they think they should be. So, looks like you got a full measure of information from at least one candidate,
Yeah.
and that was a good thing.
We talked
You
about the
know,
question of low income housing because welfare rights have been one of the ones out in the forefront along with the tenants council and everybody to fight for the fact that we still need low income housing in the metropolitan area. And what I'm talking about, not just Detroit, not just Highland Park, not just Hampton, the metropolitan area means all the cities and townships that
connected
it
cities, and
consider,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's in this particular
Well, you
zone or
talk about
whatever.
Wayne County and Macomb
A whole
County.
lot of them.
I heard it mentioned the other day, and this was a community out in California, and it wasn't Oakland. I forgot something in that area near where Ethel and folks live, and they were talking about how affordable housing is disappearing.
Yes.
And you know, I've made at least 2 trips downtown to the HUD building, on the McNamara building where HUD is, to find Mr.
Polar.
Polsinelli. That's
What
his name,
is it?
Polsinelli. And didn't find anybody that first time. And the second time I went, Miss Shaughnessy, who was his administrative assistant, and who she told me clearly HUD is getting out of the affordable housing
And within
business.
5 years.
And no. She said by 2020.
2020.
2020. Now, the reason she said that is because she's anticipating that Republicans are going to be in office after the election. See, that's what that was. And while I was in there, I had sweat rolling off my neck and scared to death because when I looked up, you didn't get a chance to see the crucifix or Martin Luther King or John F. Kennedy or none of that. Who you saw is Trump, Ben Carson, and Mike Pence, and that's who you saw. And I've got to look at. Oh Lord, I got to get out of this room. But she's anticipating, and what she said was starting in 2020. The list of affordable housing, that's apartment buildings and townhouses and individual homes that belong to HUD right now, what they were going to start doing is selling those properties off to developers and private owners who will in turn have to maintain subsidized rents for a period of time, and then that number goes down and down and down and down every year until a market rate is what's going to be available. So when I asked her what is it that the people are gonna do, and she said people will have to determine their own options. I want to write a book and make that a chapter. Determine
Determine
your
your
own
own
options, whatever the heck did that mean. Caller, you're on the air. You're our first caller of the evening. Welcome to Ask Welfare Rights. You're on the air.
Well, good evening, ladies. How are you today?
And
We're
fine. Good
fine.
evening.
And Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Kramer, I want to tell both of you all, you're absolutely right about that because I was down at Detroit Housing and on East Orleans yesterday. And I was trying to get information, because I'm that type of person. I'm gonna go out and do my research
Okay.
before I bring anything. But it was very interesting for this young lady. She slipped up and said something, and then she gave me this number. So, Miss Taylor, I gave you my number.
Yes.
You call me, I give you this number. And then I went down on East Jefferson because one of my frat brothers, he's the director down there. So he was telling me some stuff too. I got some things I got to share with you, and it's just terrible.
It is.
It's
It is.
terrible.
It is. And
And
people
all I
don't
want to
believe
say
it.
again is that I'm going to wait till maybe about February, and I'm going to see who all is going to put their name in the race to run for state reps and state senators. And I want them to be able to go into these high schools and talk to these kids that's getting out of school. And I want to share this with you. To everyone that's listening out there.
Now, say it quickly now.
Okay. To everyone who's out there listening, go to Detroit Trade Center, and you can go to their Facebook page. Become their friend, and they will let you know every time they're having a class. Everything. I was shocked when they invited me to be their Facebook friend the other day.
Okay. Okay.
So a lot of things we don't even know.
Every day of the week, lots of things we don't know. Yeah.
And so I just want, again, Detroit Trade Center, go to their Facebook page and ask them to become your friend, and you will find out every class that they have, and take these classes. Get a job, because as you notice, they ain't playing no more. All this free stuff is about to it's going to be non-negotiable, and it ain't going to be out there anymore.
You know the address?
You got that
for
right. No, I know what
It's
that
right
is.
down there across from
I know what
where
it
Wonder
is.
Bread used to be at.
Oh, yeah.
I know where it is. All right, caller, thank you very much. And other tidbits and pieces of information, call back, okay?
Okay, all right, thank you.
And
y'all
thank you
have a
so
wonderful
much.
evening.
Yes.
All right, now, thank you very much. Caller, sorry to keep you so long, and you are on the air.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Fine,
Fine.
sir. Good evening.
Real good. First of all, I just want to say, last week when I called about Wayne State giving free tuition,
Yes.
and then after I spoke and I got up there, I thought about that. I said, I hope that don't take our children from going to Wayne County Community College after all that dive and put in order. When I heard your response that, like you said, Wayne County dive had been had that in order, which he have.
Yep,
and
long
I thought
time.
about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to call back and mention on that. And then another thing I wanted to say, I wonder why Representative John Conyers, unless the family requested, now his body wasn't in the state, building to be viewed by the other Congress and other people.
Well, I think you know that he'll be lying in state tomorrow at the African American Museum, right?
But he's talking
Okay,
about
but
in DC.
I think that Charles and some of the other folks at the museum really wanted Congressman Conyers to be at the museum so that the family and friends in Detroit that have known him and worked with him for so long,
Right.
we would
be
have
able
our
to-
first opportunity to
Pay respect.
pay our
And
respects.
two more things I'm going to say real quick, and then I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
That NSO that's up there on 3rd and Mac,
Yes.
I told people before they was going to move it. They're going to be up there on Mac and Gratiot, where they're building the new building where the old police station used to be.
Are you about to say that the 3rd and Mac NSO is about to close?
Oh, they're going to move them out of there. I was looking at it on City Council yesterday, and I'll be over
They
there
can
off
find
Mac
out
when
what
I'm
they
coming
wanted.
down that way. I know people on the way. The building right where the old police station used to be on Mac.
You talking
where
about
they-
Mac and
Yeah.
Gratiot?
Yes.
Oh,
They've
Lord.
already started
The
building
7th
there.
precinct where Big Black used to be, beating
Yeah,
people
but-
up. Oh,
Right,
Lord.
that's where that's moving at. I don't know
That's
what
where
they
it's moving to,
closed them,
or
but
is it-
it was on. I was looking at it on City Council thing
Oh, boy.
yesterday too, and I passed it where they started building all up in that area, and they're building some shelters like over there on Garfield and Mount Ella, where the different community people complaining.
Well, I tell you this,
You need
what
to-
Marion and I are sitting here talking about, that's been a 20, 25-year battle to get
Oh, yeah.
NSO off of that area, out of that out of that area and off of that corner, so that all this gentrification and high rises and all of that, it was standing in the way. Marion and I go back in that building from when Tyrone Chapman was there. Ron Riggins, remember Riggins? Boy,
Yeah,
some of the early folks that were picking up veterans that were homeless and anybody else. So that's been a 20 or 25-year struggle to get them out of there. My goodness.
You know,
this pastor of St. Peter's on Gratiot, I believe, on the
Gracious.
over there on Jefferson, I believe. Nevertheless, he does shelter. Now he was on there, and they built up there on.
That's what he's talking about.
You talking about St. Peter Claver
and Garfield. Now,
St.
one more
St.
last
Peter's.
thing I'm saying, then I'm hang up. I'm glad to see Dr. Ivory. Oh God, over Wayne County Community College.
Yes.
They got his name outside on the building. I passed it on the bus today, and I said, "Oh, I see that, next to the new building that they're building."
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see his name.
Oh,
It's
right.
Okay.
Dr. Curtis Ivory. That's right, Dr. Curtis Ivory.
It should say
building.
Curtis L. Ivory.
Yeah, it's up there. I was just glancing at it
Okay.
when first time I saw it, and I'm glad that's up there. Okay,
Oh, one second. Hello,
TV.
hello.
All right,
Call.
caller.
All right, thank you.
All right, call back if you think of anything else. Thank you.
Okay,
To the past caller and caller before, look, I don't know what it's going to take people in Detroit to get mad, because they just rolling right on over us and nobody's doing anything. People always asking us, what are we going to do? Well, look, we're doing every day. And we want to know, what are you going to do? But you sit back and you accept these representatives and go in there and just sign their name and vote for them, and then you get mad at when everything is over with because you refuse to be out here with the rest of us. They should not be closing those historical places. If anything, they need to be fixing them up. Dan Gilbert is doing what the hell he want to do. The city council of Highland Park, they got some rabbits and stuff in their closets and what have you. And as well as the city council of Detroit, it's criminal what is going on, Maureen.
Well, it's going to
Criminal.
keep on going on for a lot longer, too.
Too. And
Just a
they'll
minute,
sit back
caller.
and say, they ain't going to let that happen.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, no.
you wake up and you'll be just like California.
Caller, you on the air. Thank you for waiting, and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. You are on the air.
Thank you. I agree with you, Ms. Kramer, and I appreciate everything that you ladies do. I really do. I thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I have a daughter that she don't receive anything from FIA. She works at Beaumont Hospital.
Yes.
But she's been shut off with her DTE. She applied for the LSP program, but they said no, that she makes too much. But she has to buy grocery, they cut her insurance, she has to pay her rent, she has to pay her car note. It's nothing, any program that can help her with her DTE bill?
Yes, ma'am. There's some special programs that DTE offers, and what she should do, if you will ask her to call Welfare Rights on Monday, that's November the 4th, after 12 or 12:30. Okay,
After 12:30?
and give us a call, and so we can get the information from her, and we can refer her to where she can get on a payment program that she can afford.
And if you can't, if we're not there, we're generally in and out. But if you talk to anybody that answers the phone, they will take down the necessary information where they could start right away and get her in there and begin to deal with that particular situation. Now, remember, we always ask people that, as you have to become a member of Michigan Welfare Rights, and they can explain all that to you.
Okay, can you call your number out? And then one more thing. I talked to you last week, and you told me about the RAP program, that if you're 55 and over, you can apply for. Okay, I did call that Monday.
Yep.
I have an appointment for the 21st, but the only thing.
Okay, now wait, your appointment is for when?
Monday the 21st of
Okay,
November.
now you know that means that you are protected from shut off right now.
Well, she told me no. She said there's no program that you can be on for a lifetime.
No,
We'll put
not
you on
that's
for.
not what she did. That go
Now,
on.
okay, she was wrong.
Yeah.
I figured that. I know
She
you
was
ladies
wrong.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
She said we can put you on a program for 2 years, and then what we'll do is call you after that time over and have you reapply.
Now she was wrong, and once you get there on your date, you could ask her about that again. She was wrong.
And
Oh, I
two,
figured that.
call Welfare Rights back after once you go in too, and give a report to one of the people that answers the phone also.
All right, and here's the
I
number:
will do.
313. The number is 964.
964-0618.
There you go. Give
All
us a
right.
call on Monday.
And let us
Okay.
invite you to listen in further, because we have a place for people to come tomorrow.
Well, don't tell her that yet, because she might hang up.
She better
You have
not.
to stay on the line, and we ain't gonna tell
Stay
you
on
about
the
the
line.
invitation until later.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you, caller.
Okay.
All right, caller, you are on the air. Sorry to keep you waiting, and you're on the air.
Hey, beautiful ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
I got y'all on one of my TVs, but I can't get you on the other. But that's all right. I got that.
Well, 50% sometimes is pretty good. Half is all right.
Sometimes you feel like it, sometimes they don't. There is a separate political and legal framework that shields these cops from consequences and gives them special rights when defending themselves. And the way I look at that, there is a separate political and legal framework that continues to commit genocide economically, educationally, and causes the gentrification as well. It took me to listen to Byron, what's his name, Byron Allen.
Okay.
Oh, he was killing it in his interview. He said that he went to Obama because he said he'd been supporting him since he was a Senate. And he told him when he got into the presidency, if you're going to bail these banks out for, what, $700 billion? He said, I want to give you some campaign money or support, and I'm asking like everybody else is asking, you need to do an audit on these banks and make sure that they're giving money to blacks, not minorities, because y'all know minorities is now women and gays.
Okay.
White women and gays. So he asked them to do that, and it was something else he asked them, but I can't remember what it was. But he was speaking on how there's an economic genocide going on towards black people, and we know it's been going on forever because it's presently and it's history repeating. Because, you know, when we had the Paradise Valleys and all the other communities, they did what they did, and nobody went to jail, and they brought it up presently, and now they're making it all a legal standard that they can do what they do to continue to keep their foot on you.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Get in the fight and continue to fight.
Yeah, now let me ask you a question. And Marion and I think we consider you a deep thinker, one that analyzes situations. Now, do you know who Colin Powell is?
Yes.
All righty. Where Colin Powell lives, they probably have a CVS in his neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And Colin Powell does not drive a Chevrolet. And he does not get shut-off notices.
Well,
and you know, there is a class difference.
There you go.
Even though it might appear as if everything is boils down to the basis of color. I would ask you as a superior intellectual to look deeper and go to Fortune 500 and look at that list and look at the number of men who are white, men who are European, men who are Asian, men who are African, and look at that list. And I would say to you that even though this question of race is a tool that has been so successful, I
Oh, yes,
think
it
we
has.
need to dig deeper in terms of
Yes,
who the enemy is.
exactly. Well, in my observation, it's not only a race war, it's a class war. It's
Thank
a
you
have and
so
a have
much.
not war.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
If you don't
And so those
understand,
who have, in order for those who have, in order for them to keep it, they have to keep their foot on your neck
They have to
and
keep the
suck
foot
up
on the necks
and
of the
soak up.
have-nots.
And
That's right.
To soak up and to keep all the resources and let the rest of us, we got to swim or drown.
Well, let me say this to you. In the mid to late 70s, there were between 500 and 600,000 hourly General Motors workers, okay? 500 to 600,000
throughout the
hourly
country,
General Motors workers spread out all over the country. The strike that just ended dealt with 46,000 hourly General Motors workers across the country. This was the first time in the history of the UAW where they insisted that every General Motors plant be struck. So we've gone from 600,000 to 46,000. I did the math already. 10 out of 11 workers have been replaced by either seniority or technology. And that 1 out of 11 that is left, they're able to produce 14.5 times the number of cars that the 600,000 produced.
Oh,
So I need you to feel those numbers. 600,000, 46,000, three plants closed. Now here we got 55,000 Ford workers across the nation. And Ford used to come in at 100,000 in one plant. That was at
and
Dearborn.
Dearborn.
100,000 workers just at that one plant. There are 55,000 Ford hourly workers left in America. So people need to pay attention. There used to be, I don't know how many, I didn't look this one up, how many teachers were there. And now how many teachers are there today? They do not, like Mary says, they do not need us anymore. They don't need us. So you don't have to build cars. You don't have to teach kids. Put that computer program in the slot, and that's how you learn your other language. Because we don't need a Spanish teacher, a French teacher
The
anymore.
other thing, Maureen, I was talking to Steve this morning, and he's always been a very respectful teacher in Oakland, California. Very good teacher. He was in the civil rights movement with me, and we had a great deal of respect for him. He'd retired several years ago. And I said, "What are you doing now, Steve?" He said, "I'm still volunteering, going to the schools, because the teachers that they have there now are barely getting paid, if they are getting paid. And they don't know how, and there's no money for different programs and stuff like that. So I go volunteer and try to help out, on my own, and let them know we can survive a lot of this. But we can survive it, but at the same time, who is the enemy?
Yeah.
Who is the enemy?
Controls the system. That 9% that's controlling the system.
There you
and
go.
They systematically, automatically got it on automatic pilot.
And then you look at
to clean the swamps. They draining the swamps. We're the swamps. They're draining.
Yeah, we the
we're
swamp.
the swamps.
Yeah, we the
You're
swamp.
right. But you tell people. One person told me the other night. She said, "I tried to talk to some of the seniors in some of the buildings and tell them, look, they're gonna be closing these buildings up.
They are.
And we need to get, in essence, need to get ready for that and see what we're gonna do. And this
Yeah.
senior tried to argue her down. They would never do that, or
Oh,
never
yeah.
let that happen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They're not gonna do that to us. I said, when
That's
the
it.
next time you see her, probably give her a chair or something like that, and see how long she's gonna be sitting in that chair.
You know what?
We
They
got a
did the
lot of
same
work to
thing.
do. We got a lot of
They
work to
did.
do.
They did to the same thing to those seniors down there on Griswold. They was talking all bad and all
Oh
tough and
yes,
talking about what
yes.
somebody ain't gonna
Washington
do. And
Boulevard. Yeah.
then Gilbert put them out in the winter time,
Yep.
in the
Yes.
cold. Put them out in less than 30 days. They had to go in the cold. So
Well,
yeah, y'all can talk big and bad, but what you need to do is get, like you say, y'all need to strategize your next move, because we playing that checker. What that guy used to say? We still playing checkers, and they
yeah.
playing chess all over our heads.
They play
Yes.
chess
And
everywhere.
until we understand what ownership and control is, they will continue to control us. We're going to have to learn us some high tech and some technology and strategies and everything
And
else
who
to be
the
on
enemy
edge
is.
to move it. Because it's crazy, man. It's like, it's worse than Twilight Zone. But
Caller, we
it was something
believe
else.
we believe everything you're saying. We are on your page. We got some dark times
Days coming
coming.
ahead.
We got some dark days coming. You know,
Hallelujah.
I've told Mary several times I'm giving up, and what I mean is
You tired.
I can't keep telling people that the light that's coming toward you is not the
Yeah.
light. It's the locomotive coming to run your silly ass down.
Yes,
Excuse me.
indeed.
You know,
Oh, my
and
God.
I can't keep telling people the same thing over and over again. So I'm gonna let them stay on that track.
I
And you
know.
know, we
You
going
do.
to higher ground. You don't want to go with us? Okay.
No, that's right. What you say? When they go low, we go high.
Hey, and higher. You know.
Higher and higher.
I
And then
tell
I
you,
found out that there's trillions of dollars in government workers' pensions.
trillions,
Yes.
Trillions. Do
all
you
kind
hear
of
me?
money,
The
Trillions
problems
of dollars in government workers' pensions. But see, we ain't supposed to know that. We
trillions of
supposed to
dollars
think there is
that's
everywhere.
no
right.
money.
Yep. Now,
We
No
are
caller,
one
supposed to
should be
believe that
without a
there is
house, a
no
home,
money.
or anything in the United States of North America.
well, you keep your pen and paper handy, because in
Okay,
about
I
two
got it.
minutes we're
I
going to
got it.
tell everybody about this big event that we involved with tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you for
sharing,
calling.
caller. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. So, all right, Marion, let's talk about 5 years ago. The United Nations, after several months of negotiations, sent uh, um, Leilani Fahar and Katerina
Katerina.
de Albuquerque, sent two special rapporteurs.
Good women.
And the Leilani is the rapporteur for affordable housing, and Katerina is the or was the rapporteur for the right to have water and sanitation. Brilliant,
Brilliant
wonderful women.
attorneys and everything.
Yeah. So these women came to Detroit. It's been 5 years, and we're honoring and celebrating the 5th year that they came to Detroit. And tomorrow, we will be at Wayne County Community College, not the downtown branch. We will be in the Northwest Campus. And the Northwest Campus is right on the corner of Southfield Street, that's Southfield, and West Outer Drive. Right on the corner, Southfield and West Outer Drive. The actual address is 8200 West Outer Drive. And the great big shopping mall is on one side of Southfield, where the Henry Ford satellite clinic is. Great clinic right there. And a big old shopping mall and whatnot. AAA is still in there.
Or either
And
they can come up on
can't hear you.
if you coming
No, don't
off the
tell them how to get there.
expressway. I just want to put this in. Off the expressway, um, you can and you
What
have
freeway? Which one?
Southfield.
Oh, well, you didn't say that.
Yeah, okay. And going north, you can come up at 6 Mile and stay on the service drive till you get to Idle Drive,
And turn left.
and just turn left and then go right to the no, campus and tell them where you're going, and that is to be able to participate in the conference and celebration of the
Okay,
people
you
that
didn't
was
tell
here.
them what building yet. Okay, it's in the Welcome Center. Okay, so the entrance is off of West Outer Drive, and the security guard will be there. And the event starts at 2 o'clock. We suggest you start being there close to 1:30. Food, there's snacks that we're going to provide. Everybody knows that's what we do. And the event starts at 2, and it'll be over at 4. And Marion, the video that the United Nations filmed while they were here, it's a short one, and we're going to show that tomorrow, too. It's been a long time. I'm not sure if you remember it. I ain't even sure if you saw it. But we're going to show that video. And we got a couple of people speaking. Alice Jennings will be there. And Alice is going to be bringing people up to date on some legal things that are going on connected to water and water shutoffs. And Marilyn Mullane is going to be there to talk a little bit about foreclosures. And I really want Marilyn to say something about this affordable housing nightmare that we're all getting into, because you cannot find affordable housing in Detroit hardly anywhere. So again, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, if you're available, and I sent a big message out to Carolyn Baker, and her crew, and a whole bunch of other folks. Ask people come by and celebrate with us. It's been 5 years since we were able to get the United Nations to come and talk about water and water issues, water shutoffs, and water poisonings. And at that time, Marion, we were still talking about Flint being poisoned. And little did we know that the poisoning went on to Highland Park and went on to schools in Detroit, and something going on with
Check
lead
the
in the water with Royal
suburbs
Oak.
out.
Where? Yeah, Royal Oak. You know what I noticed? They don't say boil water alerts anymore. See, because we learned that if you boil the water, it makes it worse. It concentrates whatever it is that's in there. So tomorrow, 8200 West Outer Drive, 2 o'clock, we'll be done by 4. And then the other thing, Marion, is about John Conyers. Okay, a lot of things that John Conyers is noted for. And, of course, the Martin Luther King holiday. And, a lot of really great things. He pushed and pushed and pushed and never gave up. And a lot of big things that were national in nature. But a lot of people, I don't know if you looked at the Welfare Rights webpage yet. Did you see it yet? Well, one of the things that he did that nobody knows but Welfare Rights is when we were trying to get the United Nations to come to Detroit. That's when I first realized that I didn't know that an elected official has to make the official invitation, because these are quote quote foreigners, and they have to have a invitation and a letter. And we took that straight to Congressman Conyers, and with the next day he had the letter ready, and he sent his copy and we sent ours, and he was a great part of getting the United Nations in, and people don't know that.
And he participated
He can't hear you.
And he participated
to
at
say
the
that.
at the event.
When we were at Wayne County Community College, when we first brought them in, we had Congressman Conyers there. I remember, I don't know how many times, and that did come up as people were reflecting on his life and times, how many times he'd been to Central United Methodist Church.
Quite often.
And Ed Rowe would have events of some sort and call Congressman Conyers, and he would just show up, Johnny on the spot.
And well, I tell you one thing.
Boy.
When we got arrested over in public housing, when we took over Jeffrey's public housing and we was put in jail, the phone was back that they took us over to Southwest Detroit. And there was a payphone in the room where they had detained us in. And Reverend Rowe and the rest of us started calling Congressman John Conyers. And so he said, well, where are you guys? We said, we're in jail. And we
Which
told
one?
Southwest Detroit, and we told him, gave him the information. Now get on over here and help us to get out. He showed up.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
showed up,
Yeah.
and began to make sure, because some of our attorneys had made it there also, to make sure that we not only was free,
But
he
not injured.
but not injured, and stayed there until the last person was okay to go.
And see, it's those little bitty stories like that that a lot of people don't know anything about. I can recall students needing a letter to get to. Boy, this one student wanted a letter to get into the Air Force, and his grades were not that good. And I talked to this student. Are you sure you want to go to the Air Force?
Of all places.
And he said that had been his life's desire. And his grades were average, but he wanted to go in as a commissioned officer. So I contacted John Conyers, sent him a fax. Here's the information I need. Congressman Conyers said have the young man call the office. He did, gave the information, and a couple weeks later when I saw the student again, he had the letter in the envelope that said Congressman John Conyers. Had that, took it down to the recruiting station. That's when they were on, where's that recruiting station? Over Library Street, remember? Took it down there and was allowed to join the Air Force. That's been a number of years. I was able to track him for 3 or 4 years, and he went through Air Force Academy, graduated with honors. I remember that. And I don't, he moved, he got married to, isn't that cute, got married to another young lady who was in the Air Force. And they both moved someplace else. But little things like that Congressman Conyers
I'll
was
never forget. I was
so helpful in.
when I used to have to go to D.C. so much. And I was sitting out in his office, wearing back, in the office, wearing back, about to take a nap. And I went, and he was, since I've been walking all over D.C., and I looked, and he was in his office, and I went there and sat down, and I said, "Is it okay for me to sit here?" He said, "Go on." I said, "Look like you having a good time. You eating the lunch?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, go on, and I might have to take a nap." But the thing about it is, not all the time that we got along. No, not all the time, but most of the time he showed up for all of us. And I agree with the early caller. Once they take him from here, they need to take him to D.C. His main life was spent there in D.C. representing our interests.
Well, it could be that after the funeral, I don't know. I hadn't heard about anything else.
I haven't
but
either.
After the well, let's see. Greater Grace holds 4,000 people. I'm sure there'll be 14,000 trying to get in there on Monday, and it might be that he's going someplace else. But after a while. After the spirit comes to get you, I'm done with it.
John Conyers had been in office
did a lot of,
since the 60s.
Years.
When I came here from the Civil Rights Movement and went to one of the very first meetings that people were trying to get him to talk about the need for him to become a representative.
52 years.
That place was packed. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah.
And, he's been there all the time. And, and the only way they could remove him is to bring up some of the nonsense. And, I support my sisters and what have you. But at the same time, and then I don't, on the other hand, agree with no man putting their hands on no women if they should not be touching no women. And the women say, no, you need to back up. But look how they treated him compared to the way they have treated those Anglo-Saxon men that have been accused of the worse stuff than what he has done.
Well,
people start standing up and stop just, Marina, I get to the point now at home and stuff like that, and people be calling me about that. I just get to the point, I said, What's the
Yeah, what are
use?
you gonna do? Yeah,
What
yeah,
is the
yeah.
use? Y'all call welfare rights and we be willing and waiting to do for y'all. But once you stop, you act like we are a welfare office or
They
something
call
because
us
we're
like they
not.
think we the government. You
We're
know.
not.
How about House Bill 676?
That's right. He
He
came
was
to
the
us.
early ones that talked about Medicare for all.
That's right.
And there should be a plan, a health care plan that the government pays for, just like Medicare for seniors now. He was one of the early ones.
That's
And
right.
in the beginning, hardly nobody signed on to it. And more every year he would introduce it, never got tired of it.
And
I'm
it
going to
became,
introduce it. And more names
it took
attached, more
workers,
names attached.
General Baker and them, to start uh, uh, um, a group with retirees
Yes,
to get it out.
retirees for single
Single
payer
payer.
health
And
care.
they still going on.
Still working on that, you know.
Still doing it.
So, and I'll tell one more story, a small story, where he called me and he said, "Listen, we have to do a little bit more about these water shutoffs."
right.
And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" Well, the Black Caucus is having a meeting in Washington, D.C. I want you to get on the plane. I'm going to have somebody from my office pick you up at the airport. And I want you to come to the Black Caucus because I need you to talk to some of the members of the Black Caucus about this water fight. I don't know. I'm busy. I'm busy. You ain't that busy. Get on the plane. I'll make the arrangements. All right. So I go there and I'm sitting in the airport in D.C. and I'm calling the people I'm supposed to call. I'm looking for them. They looking for me. We all in the airport. Can't find each other. Took an hour or so. Finally found me and we went on over to where the Black Caucus event was being held, and Congressman Conyers had already set up 3 or 4 caucus meetings. I didn't have a chance to go to the bathroom. I went in there. Here's where you supposed to be 15 minutes ago. You're late. Go down there.
And those some
And that was it.
wide, big
You
halls.
know, so man, so I had to walk all around, and I went to every caucus meeting, and I had enough material in my little bag and whatnot, and I talked at every Black Caucus meeting there was. I talked at every Spanish caucus meeting that he had set up. I talked to every one of them, and told people in detail about this water issue. And he had set all of this up, Marion, well in advance so that we would be able to share as much information as possible. Caller, just a minute, caller.
And the same thing is that the Office of Organization, of the government, called and said now that they were holding a hearing. And this hearing was about Clinton's welfare reform. And what happened?
Speed it up.
What happened was I called Congressman Conyers. He didn't know nothing about it. But once I got there, he made sure that I was accommodated. But that he was in full support about what we would come up with.
Yeah.
I had never heard of that section of the government.
Caller, you on the air. Thank you for waiting and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. You on the
I
air?
had to call back.
Yes.
John Conyers, I remember bumping heads with him with a couple of times because he would come to the meetings and he would come to the fight and he would walk with us and talk with us. He was against that emergency management baloney.
Yes.
He was for reparations from all the stuff that they stealing and they still stealing. And when people sit around and talk about all this free stuff about to be gone, it's people look down on poor people, not realizing that the conditions are made through the draconian policies. They are stealing your tax money every day. And they telling you that they don't have a budget to fix your schools, or plumbing and nothing else and no kind of services.
That's right.
They're stealing your money. And so when you say free stuff, you know who free? It's free to steal everything from the people and cause man-made poverty and then turn around and make it legalized for the criminals to steal everything you got in your life
Yep.
And blame the victim that's been victimized by legal thieves.
You're
I'm
right.
sorry, I just get so upset
I
about the
know.
situation, but
You're
hey,
right, Carla.
folks be looking down on the wrong person. Y'all need to be looking up at the ones that's staying up because your pain is their gain. And
That's
I
right.
got nothing else to
Well,
say. Goodbye.
well said.
Said,
Thank you, caller.
thank you.
All right, so Congressman Conyers is going to be at the African American Museum tomorrow, Saturday, from 10 until 2. And I imagine there'll be the great big sympathy card or whatever, maybe not, I don't know. And then he'll be lying in state at the African Museum again on Sunday from 12 to 5. I'm going to go Sunday after church. And I expect to stand in a line, and I'm
That's what
looking
I want to
forward
see.
to that. See if people are going to come out, and doesn't matter if it rains, doesn't matter if it's cold. All that's going to happen is November, but we're talking about the opportunity to pay your respects to a giant. So here we done lost Elijah Cummings a week or so ago,
That's right.
and now here's this one, and you know how they say this stuff runs in threes, right? So now we got to send Congressman Conyers back, and we won't have another Congressman Conyers for a very long time.
It doesn't.
You know,
Yeah, that's right.
long time. So it was something else, and I've forgotten what it was.
Just make sure that you're out there
Forgot it.
tomorrow,
Or
because
Sunday.
or Sunday, paying your respects. You know, you could show up like you did for Aretha. Show up like you did for when what's her name that didn't sit down on the bus. My brain went dead.
Rosa.
Rosa Parks and all, and give him the respect that we gave the rest of our heroes and sheroes.
Yeah, yeah. So Saturday, now again, we will be at Wayne County Community College at Outer Drive in Southfield. And that's where we're going to be tomorrow from 2 to 4. So we will not be at the Saturday event, but we will be there on Sunday between 12 and 5. And I have it on good authority, Marion, and I'm not sure what day, but Richard Hairston, and Miss Elizabeth, they're gonna come one of those days
Isn't that wonderful?
and stand in line because Richard wants very much to say his goodbyes to Congressman Conyers. And knowing Richard, he gonna bundle up and put on his neck scarf and everything and come on down to the African American Museum. But I expect it to be quite an event, and it should be. We have to send back one of our own, and that's a good thing. Now, the other thing I thought we would just about end our broadcast on, and you showed me the obituary, and we talked a little bit about this last week and week before last. Howard King. And talked to Miss Kim earlier today about a separate issue. But the Barnabas Institute, the Barnabas Youth Center, that was
See
responsible,
if it could be seen.
turn on the back side. That is so, yeah, turn it that way, yeah. Lean it, yeah,
You just go on
yeah.
and talk. Let's go on.
Yeah, but it's shiny. Lean it back your direction. No, I mean like this.
No, it's still
It's
shiny.
still shining.
Shiny.
All right, we 3 minutes. Okay. What a great picture of Howard. And did you go? You were at the funeral. Okay, and
place-
Stan came,
Yeah, but that
and
place
I was
was
so
packed.
glad.
Packed.
Yeah. But the number of men and the number of women that Howard and Stan have produced over the years, my own son, who, didn't always have a positive role model as a man in his life. And by the time he got over to Howard and Stan, he got a chance to see these are what real men look like. And to this day, Navarre holds on to some of those traits and some of the things that he learned, how to be gentle and how to be kind and how to be analytical and I know he just told us 3 minutes. Did
Oh,
you see that when he passed by? Yeah,
I see that.
you know, and how Navarre still laughs when they were at Barnabas and somebody would say, "Hey, Mary, I got a job for you, trash detail or whatever it was," you know. So, just mention Howard's name one more time in passing. And I was thinking today, Marion, about Leontine Person. We had to send her back. And Miss Flo Kamens is recovering, and we were glad of that. And then Kevin Tatum, we had to send him back. And boy, it's been tough 2 or 3 weeks on welfare rights with some of the folks we brought in and some of the folks we had to send back. So, Marion, you have about 45 seconds to say goodnight.
Well, I guess it's going to be like this. See you next Friday, and good night. And I hope that a lot of you start getting active.
All righty, and then I'll end by saying, don't forget you are invited to Wayne County Community College tomorrow, the Northwest Campus at Outer Drive and Southfield Road, 2 o'clock, where we're going to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the visit of the United Nations, coming here to check out water issues and whatnot. And on Sunday, for those of you that are able to, we'll be at at the African American Museum on Warren. And we're going to say our goodbyes to Congressman John Conyers, where he will be lying in state from noon until 5 on Sunday. The funeral is Monday at 11 o'clock at Greater Grace Church. And Greater Grace is 23500 West 7 Mile Road. And that's 7 Mile near Telegraph. The funeral starts at 11, family hours at 10:30. But, the lines to get into that facility are going to be wrapped around and around and around. So as we sign off tonight, some of you we'll see on Sunday. Others of you we might see on Monday. And if that doesn't happen, then we will see you when we see you. Because that Friday we won't be here. Yeah. All righty. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We'll see you soon. And goodbye till we see you again.